Good afternoon, Whisperers, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. I am your host, Sonya LaRae, lifestyle relationship counselor, educator, and motivational speaker. Whisperers, I hope you all have had a fabulous week. I know we have. We have been so busy. We have been building out new programs as well as doing some live discussions. And hey, look, if you're on Clubhouse, make sure you find me. I'm on there. I'm going to be launching a room on Clubhouse as well with a co host. And it will be on September 21st. And the room title is Roundtable of Intention. So make sure you check in with us. And hey, if you like what you're seeing here on YouTube, make sure you click like and share because that's what we're all about is sharing a deep experience and connecting with you all. So we love to get our episodes started with a cocktail or mocktail, and this is no different. We have the lemon drop, and it's brought to us from a dynamic mixologist out of Toronto, Canada. And we're so thankful to have this. But listen, if you don't have the cocktail or the mocktail, you are missing it. So make sure you see the live link down at the bottom. Click in the description box so you can join our fabulous email list. You'll never miss an episode. You'll get great information plus the featured cocktail or mocktail of the episode. And hey, if you miss it here live, don't worry, you can play it back or you can join me at 3 p.m. today on Blog Talk Radio. That's www.blogtalkradio.com/whispers in a bottle. So you can really be involved because we have a live chat box over there. And your girl loves to monitor a good chat box. So if you have a comment, even right here on YouTube, drop it in the comment box. I'll get it. And I definitely love when you guys share and pour in more from us. So like I said, if you want to be on the live show and join us live where everybody's talking and getting together in that chat box or calling into the show, make sure you follow us at www.blogtalkradio.com/whispers in a bottle. So with that being said, are you ready to get into our discussion on have you accepted yourself? I know I keep saying I'm going to get some music when it's some dynamics like that because this topic is fire. So look, I like to start every episode with a clear meaning. So this is no different. So I'm going to give you the meaning of acceptance. So, acceptance means receiving, welcoming, embracing. Did you get that? Acceptance means receiving, welcoming, and embracing. Whisperers, you know that we had a great discussion a few months back on are you enough? Well, I said that I had more that I wanted to go into in that discussion, and this is the carry on right here. See, the last few episodes, I've been really pouring value into you all and making sure that we are tapping into self. Last week, walking in your greatness. Remember, dynamic discussion, owning your power, making sure that you're showing up. Showing up for who? You. So I'm trying to help you to see that you all have such worth and can be proud of that. And this discussion really taps into the way that you see yourself, the ability to accept yourself, and how empowering that really is and can be to you. And notice, this is all I'm saying, it's all about you because that's what we need to realize and pouring into and tapping into that. And many times we hear a lot of negative things that have powerful effects on our minds. And sometimes we can be guilty of telling ourselves these negative statements as well, or seeing ourselves in a negative light. I know that has to be true because I see so many times and I hear so many times clients saying, well, if I just, or I am only. Those are things that tear down our emotional connect of acceptance for ourselves. It gives us a negative feeling within ourselves. And so the subconscious draws on that again. So, with that being said, these negative statements or seeing ourselves in a negative light, this discussion today is to break those habits and be able to celebrate and accept ourselves. So I heard a great quote, and it's by Mark Twain, and I'm going to read it to you. And it says, "The worst loneliness is to not be comfortable with yourself." Isn't that dynamic? Okay, so the worst loneliness is to not be comfortable with yourself. I know. Self acceptance is that doorway to authenticity. And now, so many times we hear that word authenticity and being authentic. And when you don't know what that is or how that looks, it's hard to do. I mean, I hear so many times, I'm in so many different groups in Clubhouse and different things that we talk about in Clubhouse, as well as my live discussions that I have live and working with clients, is that they struggle with that authentic, or like we had that discussion on imposter syndrome, which I said we're not going to call it a syndrome because a syndrome we cannot come back from and there's no cure for it. So what we're going to do is say that we're struggling right now with our authenticity, which is causing us to feel as if we are imposters. Well, that's not the case. That is not the case. So, self acceptance is the doorway to authenticity. And when acceptance is lacking, it is on the biggest stumbling blocks. It's one of the biggest stumbling blocks that cause so many to fall prey to self sabotage. Oh my goodness. Like I just said a mouthful in that one little segment right there. Self sabotage. And when we sabotage something, it's a destroying of the elements or where we are in our mind, our heart, our soul, what we put forward to others. What self acceptance does, it allows us to embrace every part of ourselves unconditionally. Isn't that dynamic? That if you could accept every part of yourself with no conditions, no factors in it, you would be like blazing through things. I always get asked all the time, is like, you always seem to show up just as who you are. Well, that's true. I do. I show up as Sonya LaRae all the time because I have accepted myself. But see, remember, I told you all a couple of episodes back on being enough. Now, if you haven't heard that episode, I encourage you to go back and listen to it. Because I told you when I discovered that I was enough, I was young. And most people don't discover that until much later in their lives. So once I realized I was enough, my self acceptance was like out the door. I was on a momentum that was not going to be stopped. And this is what this discussion is doing. It's putting you on that momentum so you can go beyond wherever everyone else has placed you or where your mind has placed you. Because now I'm saying to you, you can accept yourself. Yes, we have flaws. Definitely, we have flaws. But those flaws are characteristics that we can either improve, change, or settle. Because that's the one thing. If you're going to settle, you have to realize that there's going to be some damage there that's not going to be repaired because you've settled. And this discussion is about accepting ourselves so we can be able to walk in our greatness. So let me ask you this. Did you know that clinical psychology And positive psychology states that self acceptance is considered the prerequisite for change to occur. Did you all know that? You probably didn't. And this can only be achieved if we stop. Notice that word, stop, criticizing and solving the difficulties of oneself and then accepting them. So we got to stop trying to criticize and rework everything and figure out and put us under that microscope, because that's what happens. We put ourselves under a microscope, which keeps us from elevating our mindset, keeps us from elevating our thought processes in our heart. So once that gets stagnated, and I tell you all about stagnating water constantly, there's no ability to flow. And we need ebbs and flow in our life. So, with that being stated, Whispers, I want to give you some psychological benefits of having self acceptancy. So, this is where I normally tell you guys to grab your pens, pin mark this episode, to come back and listen to it, share it with someone who may need to hear this. This may not be tapping in on you, but this could be tapping in on someone else that really needs to hear this. So, here it is. So, what are the psychological benefits? First, it regulates mood. Second, it decreases some depressive moods. It increases positive emotions. So that's three powerful things right there. It regulates mood, decreases some depressive moods, increases positive emotions. It decreases the fear of failure. Remember, I told you about successful people and success in lives, and how we can walk in our greatness is not being afraid to fail. Because, see, once you fail at something, that's okay. It helps you to pivot and rethink the way that you have to come in and do things differently. I've failed at a many of things, and I'm telling you, I have always been one that needed to take away a lesson from whatever it is that I didn't achieve at the time. But what it does, it refocuses my mind to help me to come back in and achieve the goal that I want to set and to get for myself or for my clients or for you whisperers or anyone else that I'm dealing with. Because that's what failure is. It's a way to look at it and pivot us into what we need to do next. So the last one is most important of all, it increases our self-esteem. And so many people that don't accept themselves have such a fight with self-esteem. They lack it. And so in turn, they're trying to constantly feed into how they can fit in or how they can look this way or be this way. But it's a lack of self-confidence and self-esteem that allows them to grow. So when we are able to uptake our moods, it always brings forth joy, happiness, and it keeps us focused on the necessary things that we need to get done and to achieve in our daily routines and our lives. Get that? It's a powerful thing. It's activating, it's moving us to react and do things. You know, my Zoom group asked a great question. Isn't self esteem and self acceptance the same? What do you all think? What do you guys think it's the same? Well, even though they're very closely related, self acceptance is not the same as self esteem. How? You're saying, how is that possible? Well, self esteem, excuse me, refers specifically to how valuable or worthwhile we see ourselves. Did you catch that? So self esteem refers specifically to how valuable or how worthwhile we see ourselves. Well, self acceptance, we're able to embrace all facets of ourselves, not just the positive parts, as I stated earlier. Grand difference, isn't it? I tell you, I got so many notes for you all. I'm telling you, I have really poured into this. I have this discussion. I have had powerful talks on this and given it across many stages. And I am always uh just taken by how it impacts people when they hear this and how it allows people to pivot the mindset and being able to be more self-accepting. It's dynamic, it's powerful. And when I'm working with my clients and we get to a point where they say they want to improve their self-esteem or their self-worth, I tell them they need to first explore what parts of themselves they're not yet able to accept. Isn't that something? Because maybe you haven't really sat to really think about that. What parts of yourself don't you accept? And when you do that, why? Why don't you accept them? Because liking ourselves has more to do with self acceptance. See? I told you, I always bring things back around. I make sure that all the pieces connect, that there's no spots on our puzzle that does not connect, because that's what's important. Those are the little nuggets that we have to pour into to be able to connect. Those are the pieces that we have to figure out to be able to accept ourselves wholly. If you look at this topic, it also goes back to a few of our earlier discussions on being enough, being authentic. And these two topics, if you don't remember, I encourage you to go back and listen to those two, because this is the thing. They were building and pouring the foundation for you to be able to have self acceptance. And that is what we're doing. Sometimes our foundations are not sturdy. And so, in turn, what happens is we start building a house on top of an unstable foundation, and ends up that it starts to like crumble. And that is what's dangerous, because our foundation, sometimes we have to go back and have it torn up a little bit and relayed correctly, that it's sturdy again. And that's what we do in Whispers in a Bottle. For me, as a counselor and as a motivational speaker, I want to pour that concrete just so that it has no bubbles. It has the right mixture. It's not enough. It's not too much water in it that it's going to crumble when the weather comes and just starts to blow onto it and all. So that's what these discussions are doing. And Whisperers, I like to say that we connect the dots and bring some of those pieces all together all the time, because that's what I'm about. I consistently tell you that you are placing value into your bank and that you are building on your self investment. Get it? Self investment. When we make investments, remember I told you, you either have a valuable stock or you're a junk bond. And we don't want to be junk bonds for ourselves, because then we have no value. We get nothing out of it. We bring nothing to the table. And so that ends up that our portfolio starts to look depleted. And so then we're depleted for ourselves. So that's why we have to show up, show out, and be there present for ourselves. Self acceptance. Self acceptance. So, how do we even begin to develop this quality, though, of self acceptance? Isn't that a good question? I know, I got tons of them. If you remember in last week's discussion, I spoke on self compassion. See, when we show ourselves self compassion, it doesn't allow us to be overly critical or self judgy or judging and harsh. Because self compassion is none of those things. It's not harsh, it's not judgmental, it's loving, it's nurturing. And if you need to go back and listen to these episodes, I'm going to go back and tell you. I'm going to encourage you to do so because we're speaking on embracing stress there. And the first key I gave you was self compassion. And I stated people who are self compassionate, remember, direct the same care, the same kindness, and compassion they would show to someone else to themselves. See, because we can do it for other people. We can show love, we can show care, we can show compassion to people, and it's just everything that we are supposed to do. And it shows up and we show up for them, and it's just great. But when it comes to ourselves, we can be so critical. And by being so critical, we tear our self-worth down little by little by little. So after showing ourselves self-compassion, we need to then re-examine the residual effects of guilt. Wow. I know. That's a powerful thing right there. The residual effects of self-guilt. Wow. When we re-examine the residual feelings of guilt, we can begin to dissolve exaggerated feelings of guilt and shame that we place in our minds. It's that frontlet for us. You let go of it. And what this basically means, one, you know better. When you know better, you do better. I don't know how many times we hear that statement because that's the truth of the matter. When we know better, we do better. Here's a great example of this. You may have had an unhealthy diet, but when you learned the effects of this diet, you changed it. You wanted to get healthy. You wanted to lose weight. And guys, I told you all, my story. I was in a wheelchair for 5.5 years, and now I'm really working on my health. I'm getting this weight off of me. I'm very conscious about what I put in from what I don't put in. I'm staying hydrated. I'm doing the necessary things to pivot and change my health and my body. I don't have no major illnesses or anything like that, but weight is a factor, and I don't want to develop these issues. So see, when I know better, I'm doing better. And so it places us into a better mindset. And that's how we have to think about it when we're doing self-acceptance and accepting ourselves wholly. And this topic is one that I want you all to really embrace because this is such an important factor in our lives. And if we don't embrace it now, sorry, 10 years from now, you're going to be even worse than what you are today. I mean, worse than what you are today. And see, self-acceptance means growth. Self-acceptance means a better mental view of ourselves. And self-acceptance means genuine love of yourself. Because if you don't love you, who will love you then? And we teach people how to treat us. And if we're treating ourselves poorly, telling ourselves things poorly, we are going to receive the same thing because people mirror your energy. Self-acceptance is something that I have to tell you is so powerful. I pour value into you all, but I do the same with my family because they are valuable. They have such worth, and I just adore them. I love them. And sometimes as people, we have to pour into others. And if people are not pouring value into you, you need to re-examine and have them exit immediately because you don't need anything that is toxic to your soul. Because this is the thing. When you do that, let's just give the proverbial. You have this person who is negative. They have the negative energy. They're saying things that are just terrible and not really being a real friend. So, in turn, what happens is it's almost like you're poisoning or trying to poison someone, but you're drinking it yourself. So, in turn, you're going to fall over and die because you've just taken all of the poison into your system. And it's terrible. And so we have to be mindful of these things, of what we're surrounding ourselves with, what we're telling ourselves on a constant basis. Because, Whisperers, I want to work with you. If you need me to work with you and help you to break these habits or to put that growth mindset, because remember, I told you 2021 and beyond is the growth mindset era. We have got to grow past the situations of where we are. Click the link in the bio. Get you a session set up with me so we can start building your self-worth, because that is going to take you beyond anywhere you possibly can even look or fathom if you just really develop this. You know, you build on your values, so I encourage you to click on the link, like I said. And what are your takeaways? I always give you takeaways from every discussion that we have. So what are the takeaways for today? Well, first, learn self-compassion. That's first and foremost. Because, like I said, when you learn self compassion, it's going to move you to be kinder to yourself and to tell yourself more positive things that will pour out into an effect of having the necessary needs and means of loving you and accepting who you are. And the second thing is this: re examine residual feelings of guilt, because you have to get away from that. You cannot guilt yourself into change. You cannot guilt yourself that you cannot accept yourself because you have placed this burden upon your back. So, these are the two things that I want you to definitely take away from this discussion. I want you to sit and meditate on the things that you're building within yourself. I want you to also look at who you have in your inner circle. Are they pouring value into you or depleting you and helping that non acceptance of yourself to grow? Are they constantly telling you the negative about yourself? Are they constantly making you the brunt of their jokes? Because if they are, they're not valuing who you are. A kinder, gentler way of handling ourselves. Isn't that something? Making ourselves aware of how we're accepting and moving and dealing with ourselves. So, guess what, guys? I can go on and on with this topic. But I know we all have busy schedules. You're ready for the weekend. You're ready to jump in and have a good time with the family. And, I'm always excited to come into this room, to have these dynamic discussions, to be able to connect like this one on one. It's my pleasure. It's my joy. And I am honored to say that I am the host of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. My name is Sonya LaRae. I'm a lifestyle relationship counselor, educator, and motivational speaker. And guys, you are going to want to come back next week, because guess what? I'm pouring some more into your bucket. I'm pouring value so into you guys with these next few topics. Next week, we're on the importance of resilience. Oh my goodness, you are not going to want to miss that. So make sure you follow me on Instagram. Also, I'm on Facebook at www.facebook.com/whisper in a bottle, because there's no S there because of how it is on branding. But please connect with me. I want to connect with you. I thank you for always showing up, for always being here to support Whispers in a Bottle and myself. And remember, pour value into yourself, and really accept yourself for the beautiful persons that you really are. And I'll see you next week. And you guys be safe. Don't forget to wear your mask and wash your hands. All right. Take care, guys.